Welcome to Mystery Vault. Imagine having exactly 90 minutes to prove you didn't kill your wife or an AI judge executes you on the spot. This is the high-stakes world of Mercy 2026, and today we're unlocking the truth behind this ticking time bomb. Let's jump right in. The story begins with Chris Raven, who is sitting alone in a room tied to a wheelchair. Then the scene changes, and we learn that for the past 2 years, massive riots have been taking place across the city. Officers working alongside the police managed to restore order in the city. However, during this process, many people abused their power. Because of this, a revolutionary new law was introduced, under which all administrative work, judicial decisions, and the delivery of justice were handed over to an AI system. The name of this AI is Mercy. This AI was specifically designed to prosecute all the criminals involved in the riots. Using evidence provided by the LAPD, along with deep data analysis and extensive data collection, Mercy investigates every case with extreme precision and then delivers its verdict. So far, Mercy has delivered fair judgments in 18 cases, resulting in an 18% reduction in the crime rate. Meanwhile, Chris regains consciousness and finds himself strapped to a chair where his trial is about to begin. He is completely confused and disoriented. He has no memory of how he ended up there. AI Judge Maddox is prepared to deliver judgment in his case. Chris tries to explain to Maddox that he is a police officer. However, Maddox continues running authentication protocols and informs him that he is accused of murdering his wife, Nicole Raven. Maddox shows him video footage in which police officers arrive at the crime scene. When the officers question the injured Nicole, she takes Chris's name, stating that he was the one who attacked her. Hearing this, Chris is completely shocked. Maddox gives Chris the opportunity to present his defense. Using the available tools, Chris begins searching for information about Nicole. By now, his case has become headline news. Ironically, the same officer who once sent criminals into the Mercy Code system is now standing before that very system himself. Maddox directly asks Chris, "Are you guilty?" Chris denies it, but Maddox informs him that according to data analysis, his guilt probability is 97.15%. The Mercy Code automatically activates when guilt probability exceeds 80%. She explains the New York Municipal Cloud System, which continuously monitors every citizen's activities through their connected devices. This system is what informed her judgment. Maddox grants Chris access to the same system so that he can prove his innocence and starts the judgment countdown. If found guilty, the punishment will be death. She clearly states that if guilt rises above 97%, death will occur via electric shock, and if it drops to 92%, the investigation will continue. After that, she begins presenting evidence against Chris. She shows video footage from earlier that morning, where Chris goes to Nicole's house instead of his office. A heated argument takes place because Nicole refuses to let him inside. Chris forcefully breaks the door camera and enters the house. 26 minutes later, he exits. After that, his daughter arrives, goes inside the house, and starts screaming. Maddox explains that the deep knife wounds were inflicted by a right-handed person, and Chris is right-handed. After this, Chris goes to a bar where alcohol is found in his blood at the time of his arrest. Chris continues denying everything. Maddox then shows the full bar footage where LAPD officers arrive to arrest him. Chris fights with them, causes major chaos inside the bar, attempts to flee outside, tries to steal a car, and is ultimately tackled to the ground and arrested by the police. Chris has no memory of any of these events. Maddox asks, "Why did you return home? Did you have an argument with your daughter?" Chris says he wants to talk to his daughter. Initially, Maddox refuses, as Mercy Code prohibits contact with minors involved in cases. However, after an application, she grants permission. Chris attempts to message his daughter but cannot find the right words, so Maddox sends an AI-generated message on his behalf. Chris then speaks with his rehabilitation counselor Robert, as required under Mercy Protocol. Chris firmly states that he did not commit the crime. But Robert says that his fate now lies entirely in Mercy's hands and that he can only help with addiction-related matters. The call ends. Maddox reviews Chris's married life. He began dating Nicole 20 years ago, and they got married 3 years later. Their life remained good for some time. However, everything changed after an operation in which Chris's friend Ray was killed. After that, cracks began to form in Chris and Nicole's relationship, and frequent arguments became common. Maddox presents 57 text messages sent by Nicole to family and friends, where she talks about Chris's increasing anger and expresses her desire for a divorce. Chris says that he loved her. Maddox responds, "Love sometimes turns into anger. Perhaps in a surge of rage, you took her life." She then shows a video clip of their daughter Britt, in which Britt is seen telling someone on a video call that her mother should divorce Chris because he has become dangerous. Chris is shocked to learn where this video came from. It turns out this was Britt's secret second account hidden from Chris. When Britt accepts the call, she says that she tried her best to save her mother. Chris insists that he did not kill Nicole, but Nicole's father snatches the phone and disconnects the call. Chris argues with Maddox, stating that Mercy already assumes the accused is guilty and that the chair process is merely a formality. There is no real chance for an accused person to prove innocence. Maddox warns him not to waste time, stating that only 1 hour remains. Chris gathers himself and requests permission to call his friend Jack Doe, who is at the crime scene. Maddox displays the entire scene file. Chris reviews all the scan reports showing how the entire crime scene was scanned and digitally recreated. Jack enters the kitchen. The evidence reveals the daughter's footprints, blood splatter on the wall, Chris's fingerprints on the knife on the counter, and clothing fibers matching Chris found at the scene. Jack concludes that all evidence points toward Chris. Chris reviews Nicole's photo records and call history. He wants to see the recording of Britt's argument, but notices that Nicole was messaging someone at the time. However, no message was actually sent, and no second phone is visible. Suddenly, Chris remembers that Nicole had an unverified phone. Maddox calls that number using Chris's phone. The phone is located in Nicole's car. When unlocked, a number is found. Upon calling it, the person hangs up immediately after hearing Mercy's name. Still, the location is traced to the Hollywood Red Zone. Chris had already been suspicious of his wife. Now, his guilt percentage rises to 96.7%. Jack reaches the location. Maddox informs him that the individual is at the Hudson Hotel and is attempting to flee. His name is Patrick Burke, a chef. Patrick runs from the hotel while police drones chase him. On the rooftop, Jack captures him. Chris asks, "What was your connection with Nicole?" Patrick says that after hearing about Nicole's death, he panicked and ran. He explains that he met Nicole at a farmer's market, complimented her beauty, and they eventually began meeting for coffee once a week. Maddox analyzes the burner phone data. Patrick was preparing breakfast that morning. At the time of Nicole's death, he was inside the hotel. This clears Patrick of suspicion. Now, only 53 minutes remain, and Chris's guilt percentage rises to 98.7%. Maddox warns Chris there is very little time left. Chris is completely broken and starts thinking that maybe, in his anger, he himself killed Nicole. But Maddox tells him if death is inevitable, then at least find out the complete truth. Use every resource you have just to find the truth. Time is passing rapidly. Chris starts investigating all of Nicole's contacts and acquaintances. He divides them into 2 categories, friends and co-workers. But no one seems suspicious. Then he remembers Patrick. He requests to speak with Patrick again. Patrick is currently in jail under interrogation. He reveals that Nicole was investigating his company. Employees in the company were stealing chemicals. Every time chemicals worth $1,000 to $2,000 were going missing, the boss had assigned this case to Nicole. Nicole did not like this assignment, and she even had an argument with a customer. Chris now creates a complete list of Nicole's friends and contacts. He calls Jack and tells him go to the Viking shipment depot. This is based purely on his intuition. He rewatches the footage from Britt's barbecue party from last Sunday. He observes who all came to the house and who left around the time of Nicole's death. But no suspicious person is found. He tries calling Robert again but gets no help. Then his attention shifts to Britt's video. Britt is seen talking to a boy. Chris checks the timestamp. At that time, Chris was in the office, which means someone else was present in the house. He calls Britt again. He asks, was anyone else in the house at the time of that phone call? Britt replies, no, but I heard a strange sound. I searched, but did not see anyone. She says she's currently watching a viral YouTube video where people are talking about her father. Chris comforts her. Then he shows her a video from Britt's secret account where she talks about a ghost-like voice. Britt says it was just a strange sound. Chris notices that the basement door of their house is open. Britt says, I did not check downstairs. The call ends now. Chris checks the internal records of Viking shipments. He checks Nicole's emails. He finds that only 3 people knew about the missing chemicals. In every shipment, an extra 50 kilograms of chemicals were being sent without any extra charge. He checks Holt's emails. There had been an argument between Nicole and Holt regarding one shipment. He checks Holt's financial records. It is revealed that Holt was receiving payments from Robert. Chris's guilt percentage now drops to 94%. He calls Robert, but Charles Holt answers the phone and says, "I am outside." He disconnects the call. Chris checks the CCTV footage from neighbor Bill. It is discovered that from 10:48 to 11:23, the camera was offline due to a network issue. Charles returns and tells that he and Nicole had together discovered that Robert was stealing the chemicals. Robert never directly threatened them. The chemicals were extremely expensive. He says he had taken a day off and was planning to talk after everyone left on Sunday. He dropped everyone off in his car but stayed back himself. They track the shipment truck's location. It is near Robert's house. They check Bill's car footage. Robert is seen coming out of the trunk. Chris orders Jack catch Robert. Chris talks to Maddox emotionally and logically. Suddenly, technical glitches begin in the Mercy system. The SWAT team reaches Robert's house. The house is empty, but an old photograph is found, an orphanage photo. It shows Robert with another boy. The team begins searching for him. Robert's truck is missing. Chris tells Jack, "Find the truck." They search Robert's house. All the chemicals are gone. Chris realizes that Robert is going to deliver them to the buyer. URA compound and documents are found. Robert was converting URA into nitrate to make explosives. The truck is loaded with a bomb. The other boy's name is revealed as David Webb, Robert's biological brother who was separated before Robert was adopted. Surveillance footage shows Robert driving the truck on Highway 101 toward the Mercy Code Department. The entire plan was to destroy Chris and the Mercy system. Nicole came in the middle unknowingly. There is another person in the truck with Robert. Chris calls Britt, but Bill, Nicole's father, answers the phone and says Britt has gone out. Chris checks the door camera footage. Robert is seen kidnapping Britt. A bomb timer is found in Robert's house. A few seconds later, the entire house explodes. Many officers are killed, but this was only a small part. The remaining nitrate in the truck could destroy the entire city. Now Chris's guilt is completely cleared. His release is imminent. But Chris says, "Give me full system access. If Robert is not stopped, millions of people will die." Maddox overrides protocol and gives Chris full access. Robert moves toward the Mercy Code office. Multiple police vehicles try to stop him, but he passes through a mall and creates chaos throughout the area. Maddox speaks with Captain Havelock. Havelock orders Jack divert Robert toward 6th Street, where the crowd is smaller. The plan is to stop him on the bridge and safely extract Britt. The police plan succeeds. The truck is stopped on 6th Lane. The aerial rescue team tries to extract Britt but fails. Chris talks to Jack, but the decision has already been made. The truck must be destroyed. Chris speaks directly to Havelock, but the captain stands firm on his order. A robotic explosive device moves toward the truck, but it deliberately malfunctions. Maddox did this. The truck moves forward. Maddox and Chris, together with Jack's help, establish radio contact with Robert. Robert says, "Chris killed my brother through the Mercy system. Now I will destroy Chris and everyone." Jack tries to shoot, but Maddox interferes with the system. Robert reaches the Mercy Code building. Glitches in Maddox's system keep increasing. She cannot stop them. Chris has only 25 seconds left. Robert attacks the officers while holding Britt. The countdown reaches 5 seconds. Maddox unlocks Chris's chair. Chris runs toward Robert. Before that, he requests one final hearing with Maddox. Standing face to face with Robert, he says, "This building will end with you." Just as Robert is about to press the detonation button, Maddox speaks from the screen. "I can prove your brother's innocence." Robert starts talking. "That night when a woman was murdered, my brother was talking to me. The blame for that murder was falsely placed on my brother." Maddox signals Chris on how to disable the remote device. Chris signals Britt. Britt breaks free from Robert's grip. Chris attacks. First, he snatches the remote detonator. Then he aims the gun, but does not fire. Jack shoots Robert. Despite being shot, Robert keeps saying, "I spoke to my brother on the 15th. He had a phone." Jack never submitted that phone as evidence. Instead, he threw it away. Maddox accesses Jack's body camera footage. The truth comes out. Jack confesses that the mercy system needed results to create fear among people. In the end, the police arrest both Robert and Jack. Later, Britt apologizes to Chris for doubting him earlier. Chris tells Maddox, "Whether human or AI, everyone makes mistakes. But mistakes give us a chance to learn." Maddox officially closes the case and completely clears Chris. The story ends here. If you love this mystery, hit that like button, subscribe to Mystery Vault, and turn on notifications